I want to jump in on this one because unironically, you absolutely should be doing that in places. You don't want to overdo it, but you absolutely should put things in your world that your players cannot possibly contend with at their current level. That you got to put things in there that your players really, at least they can't deal with violence, right? Your level 4 players come across a storm giant. They can't fight that thing. They could beg for mercy. They could try to strike a deal. Maybe they could just talk to it. Who knows? They could sneak around it. Whatever. I don't know. But you should definitely be putting things in your world that your players cannot contend with. Number one, I guess it kind of humbles them a little bit. But number two, it just further fleshes out the world that it's like, it's not just that you're only going to come across things that you can deal with. There are going to be things in this world that you really have to think your way through. And you got to drop the hints and you got to let them know in certain ways that this is not something you can deal with. So one time, one of my older games, my players were pursuing a thief that had fled into an ancient woods with a relic, and the one of the players had a connection to that relic, and so they pursued it into the ancient woods, and they knew it was heading in the direction of these old ruins, this old elven ruin city, and so they're chasing him through the woods, and they'd set up camp, and it's late at night, and half the party is asleep. The Elven Ranger is awake and he's writing in his journal because that was the mechanism that we used to allow him to switch favorite enemies and favorite terrain. Was as long as he'd spent enough time and wrote in his journal, he could swap them. That way he's not stuck with bugbears in the mountains the entire campaign or whatever. So anyway, he's got decent enough perception and he hears something. And when he looks up into the canopy, he sees the massive head of an ancient green great worm dragon leering down at him with a smile on its face. And then he notices its snake-like sinuous body wrapped around the trees. Now, they can't possibly fight this thing. It could kill them in an instant. One breath, they're all dead. So what could they do? They invited it down to have a chat. And that's what it wanted to do anyway. So it did. It dropped down there. It took its elven form, in fact, and it sat down at the campfire and it made a deal with the players. But I made it obvious as possible. You cannot deal with this thing with violence. Your only hope for survival right now, because you also can't sneak around it, it already knows you're there, is to probably make a deal with it, to talk to it, hear it out, hear what it has to say, what it wanted from those ruins ultimately. So yeah, definitely do that. Throw everything at your players and make them deal with it.